Hey everybody, so this is the group, the combined wolf packs, getting ready to move back to Alaska.
The wind howls through the vast, merciless Alaskan wilderness. The snow crunches beneath weathered boots. A flickering fire illuminates the rugged faces of a family that once defied civilization. But behind the gripping reality show that captivated millions lies a tale more complex, more heartbreaking than viewers ever imagined. Hey, everybody, welcome back. Today, we uncover the truth behind one of the most controversial and emotionally charged reality shows ever to air on television, Alaskan Bush People. What really happened to the Brown family when the cameras stopped rolling? Why did some end up behind bars? And why did others never live to tell their story? Grab a warm drink, because what we're about to dive into is a chilling, raw story of loss, scandal, and a dream that came at an unimaginable cost. On May 6, 2014, the Discovery Channel introduced us to a family unlike any other, the Browns. A family of 9 who turned their backs on modern civilization to embrace a life in one of the harshest environments on Earth, the Alaskan wilderness. No phones, no supermarkets, no electricity, just snow, predators, and survival. This wasn't a scripted drama. This was life, or so we thought. Led by the enigmatic Billy Brown, the patriarch of the family, Alaskan Bush People showcased the Browns' attempt to live authentically off-grid, with his wife Amy and their 7 children, Matt, Bam, Bam, Joshua, Bear, Gabe, Noah, Snowbird, and Rain. Billy sought to create a self-sufficient tribe in the wild, one rooted in mutual reliance and freedom from the corrupting influences of modern society. Each episode was a high-stakes chapter in a family saga unlike any other. Would they build a shelter before the snowstorm hit? Could they catch enough fish to feed everyone for the week? Would the moose they hunted turn the tables on them? The drama wasn't just created, it was baked into every moment of survival. Audiences were mesmerized. The Browns quickly became household names. Alaskan Bush People wasn't just a hit, it was a phenomenon, sparking debates across living rooms and online forums alike. Some saw them as heroes, a brave, unfiltered family challenging the norm. Others questioned how real their wilderness life truly was. But as the seasons rolled on and the ratings soared, whispers began to surface. Whispers that parts of their lifestyle might be staged, that perhaps the bush wasn't as wild as we were led to believe, that the Browns, far from being isolated, were enjoying hotel stays between filming sessions. Still, for millions, the Browns represented something aspirational, a return to roots, a rebellion against the grind, a simpler life. But no matter how far into the woods they ran, some truths cannot be hidden by trees or snow. And as we'll discover, the dream they built was already cracking beneath the surface. Led by the charismatic and mysterious patriarch Billy Brown, the family carved out a rugged existence in the wild. Their home? A single handcrafted room. Their food? Hunted or foraged from the dense forest. Every day was a fight for survival. Every episode, a cliffhanger. Would they find food? Would the storm destroy their shelter? Would someone freeze? Or worse, millions tuned in weekly, mesmerized. It wasn't just television, it was survival, family, and the human spirit. But what most viewers didn't know was that the real danger wasn't just outside in the wild. It was also within, hidden beneath layers of loss, secrets, and controversy. Billy Brown, the mountain man's dark legacy. Billy Brown, the head of the clan. To fans, he was the fearless leader, the wise man of the mountain. But his past was soaked in sorrow. Born in 1952 in Fort Worth, Texas, Billy didn't grow up in the wild. In fact, he was raised in a comfortable, upper-middle-class home. His childhood was nothing like the life he chose for his children. But everything changed at 16 when tragedy struck. In one moment, Billy lost his father, mother, and sister in a devastating plane crash. The pain was unbearable, and if that wasn't enough, he was forced to sign away his rights to the family's fortune, becoming legally emancipated. Alone and homeless, he wandered, until he found solace at sea as a commercial fisherman in the North Pacific. And then came Amy. She became his anchor. Together, they built a life out of nothing, 7 children, and a dream to live free from modern corruption. Billy believed in that dream so deeply, he refused to abandon it even when his health began to fail. By 2019, doctors diagnosed Billy with severe heart problems. They begged him to leave the high-altitude mountains, but he refused. He told his family he would rather die on the land he loved. On February 7, 2021, the heart of the Brown family, both literally and figuratively, stopped beating. Billy Brown, the rugged patriarch who had led his family into the wild and into America's hearts, suffered a sudden seizure at the family's North Star Ranch in Washington. He was 68 years old. His death wasn't entirely unexpected. His health had been declining for years. Diagnosed in 2019 with a heart condition that made it difficult for his body to get enough oxygen, doctors had warned him repeatedly to move to lower elevations. But Billy refused. The man who had once turned tragedy into purpose, losing his parents and sister in a plane crash at 16, giving up a life of wealth to forge his own path, wasn't about to abandon the land he loved. He told his children, "If I'm going to die, I'll do it on this mountain, not in some hospital room." And that's exactly what he did. His son Bear shared the heartbreaking news on Instagram. "He was our best friend, a wonderful and loving dad, granddad, and husband. He lived his life on his terms, off the grid and on the land, and taught us to do the same." The post was raw, real, and it shattered fans who had watched Billy for 12 seasons guide his family through bear encounters, blizzards, and brutal hunger. The man who once said, "We're not hiding from the world, we're trying to find a place in it," was gone. But what came next, no one could have prepared for. Billy's death wasn't just a loss. It was a crack in the foundation of the family itself. He had been their compass, their leader, the one person holding together not just their wilderness life, but their identities. Without him, old wounds reopened, legal troubles, mental health battles, addiction relapses, and family feuds began to spill into the public eye. And for the first time, the world began to see the Browns not as a united frontier family, but as individuals, each fighting their own private war. Billy's dream had died with him, and the family's unraveling was only just beginning. Amber Branson, a silent struggle ends in flames. You might not remember Amber Branson. She appeared in only a few early episodes, but her story is among the most tragic. Born in 1976 in Wichita Falls, Texas, Amber was the epitome of kindness. Calm, generous, adored by everyone who knew her. But her life spiraled after her marriage ended. The pain drove her into the arms of addiction. She fought back. For years, she tried to stay clean, to heal, but then she relapsed. On April 30th, 2021, police responded to a call in Hudson Oaks, Texas. Amber was found lying face down in her yard, with 90% of her body burned. She had set herself on fire. She told police it was a faith test. Doctors declared her injuries non-survivable. Despite the frantic efforts of the burn center in Dallas, it was too late. On May 1st, after being removed from life support, Amber Branson, niece to Billy and Amy Brown, passed away from self-inflicted burn injuries that shocked even seasoned first responders. She left behind 2 sons, Braden and Jace, both still trying to make sense of a world without their mother. A woman who, to many, had always been the embodiment of gentleness and generosity. But behind her calm demeanor and kind smile was a long battle with mental health issues, demons she had fought silently for years. Amber had been struggling for a long time. After a painful divorce from her husband, Sean Austin, the father of her children, she became increasingly isolated. Friends described her as someone who tried to be strong for everyone else, but rarely leaned on others. The more she tried to heal, the deeper her depression seemed to run. Her descent into substance use was not overnight. It began gradually, a coping mechanism to numb pain, escape loneliness, and silence the internal noise. For a time, it seemed she had turned a corner, but in the months leading up to her death, something shifted. Her behavior became erratic. Those close to her now realize that she may have been silently planning what would become her final act, a haunting and surreal attempt at a faith test, as she told police before slipping into unconsciousness. The emotional toll on Amy Brown, Amber's aunt, was immense. Amy had watched her niece grow from a bright-eyed girl into a woman burdened by invisible scars. Her grief was overwhelming, not just for the loss itself, but for all the unspoken pain Amber must have carried. The Browns, already reeling from Billy's passing, were hit yet again with a wave of sorrow. But in true Bush People fashion, they tried to push forward, though the cracks in their once unshakable unity were now starting to show. Amber's tragic end became yet another painful reminder that even in the wilderness, no one is immune from the weight of the world. Bear Brown, from king of extreme to jail, Solomon Isaiah. Freedom Brown, or Bear, was always the wild one. Born in 1987 and raised in the wilderness, he became a fan favorite, running on all fours, climbing trees, howling at the moon. Bear lived for adventure. In 2018, at what was supposed to be a joyful family celebration, his brother Noah's wedding, Brown met Raven Adams, a woman whose beauty and calm energy stood in stark contrast to Bear's wild, uncontained spirit. She had been helping her mother with photography at the event. For Bear, it was instant, love at first sight, he later admitted in an interview. Their whirlwind romance began in the shadows of the Alaskan wilderness, but it quickly grew into something far more serious. Fans who followed Bear on social media watched their relationship unfold, from flirtatious posts to romantic declarations, and eventually the announcement that they were expecting a child. In 2020, their son was born. For a while, it seemed Bear had found his true calling, not just as a reality TV star or wilderness survivalist, but as a father. He gushed online about Raven and their baby boy, calling them his world. The wild man had softened. Viewers were touched. Maybe this was Bear's redemption arc. But the reality behind the camera was far more complicated. Their relationship was marked by tension, breakups, reconciliations, public disputes, and cryptic social media posts that hinted at deep emotional strain. Bear's erratic personality, which had made him a standout on Alaskan Bush People, became a point of contention at home. Then came March 11, 2022. Bear was arrested near the family's property on charges of fourth-degree assault, a domestic violence offense. He was taken into custody and spent the weekend in Okanogan County Jail. The public was stunned. This was a man who had once said he wanted to raise his son with love, honor, and courage. According to police reports, there were no drugs or alcohol involved, and no evidence of strangulation or choking, but the incident shook fans and cast serious doubt on Bear's future with Raven. Just weeks after his release, he entered a plea deal. The details were not disclosed, but the implications were clear. Bear had reached a personal breaking point. Since then, Bear has tried to maintain a low profile, rarely posting about his family life and appearing increasingly isolated. Some insiders say he's focusing on rebuilding for his son's sake. Others say he's still haunted by the fallout. For now, the once king of extreme is fighting his most difficult battle yet, not against the wild, but against himself. Police later confirmed no alcohol or drugs were involved, and there was no choking or strangulation. Bear entered a plea deal the following month and began working on rebuilding his life. He remains largely out of the public eye now, focusing on his family. But the scars remain on both sides. Joshua, Bam Bam Brown, the thinker, the techie, the convict. Joshua Brown, born in 1984 and known as Bam Bam, was always different, analytical, calm. He brought technology and reason to the family's chaos. His nickname came from childhood, a nod to his habit of running into walls like the Flintstones character. He became the family's fixer. Whether building shelters or designing survival hacks, Joshua was crucial to the show. But in 2014, his world fell apart. Billy, Amy, and 4 of their children, including Joshua, were charged with 60 counts of fraud. Why? They had lied about living in Alaska from 2011 to 2013 to collect state oil fund dividends. Joshua and Billy both pleaded guilty to 1 misdemeanor count of unsworn falsification. They each served 30 days in jail, paid thousands in restitution, and were banned from applying for the dividend again. Since then, Joshua has kept a low profile. He dated a former producer, pursued photography, and focused on personal projects, perhaps trying to distance himself from the family's controversies. But the legal troubles weren't over for the Browns. Not even close. Rain Brown, from baby sister to burglary suspect. Rain Brown, born in Hoona, Alaska, was the youngest of the Brown children and one of the most beloved. Fans watched her grow from a child playing with toys to a young woman with a distinct sense of fashion and a love for Nancy Drew books. Her life took a public turn when she joined TikTok in 2023, only to be banned temporarily. The platform thought she was impersonating herself. But in 2024, everything changed. Rain met Josiah Lorton while waitressing at a restaurant. He was the head chef. Their love blossomed quickly. By January 2025, they were married. Months later, they were in jail. Rain and Josiah were accused of stealing $75,000 in cash, $85,000 in gold, $8,000 in wine and champagne, and multiple firearms, all from Josiah's uncle, Jason Aist. Jason claimed Josiah was the only one who knew where the valuables were hidden. He even provided security footage allegedly showing the couple on the property. Both were arrested and charged with first-degree burglary and malicious mischief. Rain was hit with an additional charge, criminal trespass. They spent 3 days in jail and pleaded not guilty. Rain later broke her silence in an Instagram post. "Judge not, lest ye be judged. It hurts my heart that my rainbows would believe the lies." As of now, their case is still pending, but it cast a long shadow on a once innocent image. Even at the height of its success, Alaskan Bush People was surrounded by criticism. Viewers questioned the show's authenticity. Was the family really living off-grid? Or was it all just an illusion? Insiders claimed the Browns spent significant time in hotels, charmant, or rental homes. Locals in Alaska argued that the Browns didn't have real survival skills and were misrepresenting the harshness of wilderness life. Discovery Channel was also under fire. Critics accused them of prioritizing drama over truth, editing scenes to heighten suspense, and crafting narratives that weren't always real. The Browns were seen by some as rugged pioneers, by others as actors in an elaborate performance. Since the show stopped airing, the Brown family has scattered in different directions. Some remain in the public eye. Others have disappeared entirely. What began as a story of raw, fearless wilderness survival turned into a tale of scandal, loss, and broken dreams. Billy Brown's vision, to raise his children free from society, instead led them into the spotlight's harshest glare. The truth? Fame changes people. It exposes wounds. It amplifies every mistake. The Browns tried to live on their own terms, but in the end, they couldn't escape the very world they were trying to reject. Let us know what you think in the comments below. And if this story touched you, if you followed the Browns, felt their pain, believed in their dream, hit that like button. Subscribe for more real stories behind the screen.